This podcast is brought to you by Blossoms PPC, your trusted partner for promotional apparel and uniforms. Since 1998, we've been manufacturing high-quality t-shirts, caps, and bags in bulk with competitive pricing and timely delivery. Visit www.blossomspc.com for more details.
Alright guys, welcome back to the Backbenchers podcast. Today with us we have AB Gupta, the founder of Pizza Bakery, Paris Panini and Smash Guys. So the first question we usually ask all our guests are, were you a backbencher?
Unfortunately, I wasn't tall enough to be a backbencher because throughout my schooling it was kind of height order, so other kids could kind of see the chalkboard back then. So I was kind of a mid-bencher, and that was my entire academic life was also kind of mid. I wasn't big on studies. Always did reasonably well, but I was always interested in stuff outside the classroom. So in that sense, a typical mid-bencher.
So you studied in Joseph's, right?
Yeah.
Any fun Joseph stories that you could tell us?
Oh man, too many to kind of cherry pick one out. But I think the most fun we had was, we had characters as teachers. I think every Josephite kind of can relate to that. We had Ranga, our physics teacher, who was just hilarious. So many, not PG-13 friendly stories of Ranga Rao, but super entertaining. We had a lot of fun with him in class. Taking those risks, bunking class, getting outside school, going to Ice and Spice, which is now Truffles, and stealing a burger when we're supposed to be in class, and then running back to class in time when no one realized what happened. Those were extremely fun moments. We also used to bunk and go to Amoeba and do a lot of bowling. So yeah, I think bunking was fun. Apart from that, the extracurriculars itself, I really enjoyed. Sports, I used to do a lot of acting, singing. The school band, we had a rock band, and I was a part of it, lead singer. So that was a lot of fun. We got to perform at different school fests and stuff. So practicing for that, rehearsing, figuring songs out on the guitar. Those were my most cherished moments. Yeah.
Did you ever know that in the future you're going to become a restaurateur, and not just any restaurateur, a mega restaurateur who owns over 30 locations, not just in India and one in Sri Lanka too?
As recently as, let's just say, 8 years ago or 9 years ago, if anyone told me I'd be a restaurateur, I would have laughed them out the room, because I never used to look up to restaurateurs myself. My idols were these tech entrepreneurs and stuff, because of what you read in the news and consume on social media. I always wanted to do a tech company. In fact, I had a previous failed tech startup. So that was my dream, to do something hyper scalable, potentially global. So restaurants, are you kidding me? With all this education and global exposure, you think I'm going to get into four walls and sell food to people? What do you think I am? I would have actually kind of looked down at that idea. But yeah, lo and behold, things sort of happened. One thing led to another, and we ended up starting a pizza place. And the rest is history, like you said. Now, multiple locations across the city.
You mentioned that again. You never looked at never looked at restaurants as something that you wanted to do. You had a tech startup too, so it's safe to say that again you come from and you'd mentioned on a podcast earlier too that you come from a family business.
Yeah.
So there was no passion towards food per se. And do you think that helped you? Because you look at restaurants as a business and not as a passion.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think for both Nikhil, my brother, and I, who are the two co-founders of these brands, we have a very process-oriented business sort of mindset when it comes to anything. Even if it's something creative, we'll always figure out, how can we make money from it? How can we protect our margins? How can we make sure our costs are... That's just how we grew up thinking because of the environment at home and stuff. Dad being an entrepreneur as well kind of rubbed off on us. So I think a lot of restaurateurs are very chef-led. So, chefs and people who are passionate foodies or who've studied, culinary, done culinary courses or something like that, where they've not really paid too much attention to the business side of things. So then they get into it because of passion, and then they miss all the fundamentals of running a business. So that definitely held us in good stead. We were able to kind of plan resources really well. We were able to keep costs super low. We were able to keep margins high enough so that we never have to raise a round of equity or debt financing, which we haven't done till date. Completely self-funded, all outlets. None of them are franchised, all company owned. So we've only grown through accruals. So all these kind of business sort of skills that we'd earned through the early years of working with dad and just like reading about business, talking about business, going to business school, and not particularly being obsessed with the food part of it or being too emotionally attached to the food. Like if someone comes to our restaurant, tries a menu item that we've worked super hard on and doesn't like it, we don't take it personally. Like for us, that's just feedback. That's just a data point. We look at it and we're like, either improve it or ditch the item. Doesn't matter that we worked 6 months to put that out. So there's nothing emotional about it because we're not chefs, right? We're not taking anything too personally. Oh man, I crafted this with my own hands, and I've tried a zillion different recipes. Obviously, we employ a bunch of talented chefs, including our chef partner, Chef Guru, who painstakingly create these recipes with us. But I think that's rubbed off on the whole team too. People have learned within the team not to take anything too personally. Some things work, some things don't. In food, it's not all art. When you're trying to be a scalable food business, there's a lot of science involved. So you have to respect that. You can't just get too stuck on, this is my recipe, this is the way I do things, and I will put this out because this is authentic. If it's authentic, great, but you're not going to get points for that from the customer. Customer needs to like it.
That's true. A follow-up question to that is, again, while the restaurant business per se, to be successful, and it needs a lot of practicality and less passion, as a consumer, food is something that we are extremely passionate about. Like Tanish here is extremely passionate about Paris Panini, as you mentioned earlier. So when it comes to Paris Panini, Pizza Bakery, or even Smash Guys, you need a passionate team of chefs who can curate a great menu and deliver on the quality. How do you go about assembling that?
Yeah, so I think one very important element that you need as a food entrepreneur is, even if you're not a chef, you need to have a very good flair for, or a very good eye for what will work in the market.
Yeah.
So that's something both Nikhil, my brother, and I are very stubborn about. So even when starting Pizza Bakery, we had a view. We had a view of the market, thinking that sourdough pizza deserves its day in the sun. But people here barely knew what sourdough was. Chefs that we kind of hired, like even consultants, they didn't actually know how to ferment dough to kind of make it airy and give us those leopard spots that we were looking for. So we were just looking for this stuff. We got a bunch of chefs, put them together, did a lot of trials, and some worked, some didn't, and we were very, very particular that we wanted that output. So it's important for the entrepreneur to have a flair for what he kind of wants out of his restaurant. You can't just say, I'm a business guy, hire a bunch of chefs and be like, I want the best pizza in the city. There's no such thing. Or I want, a thin crust Roman style. Please, give me the best thin crust Roman style pizza that you know. Because he knows something, right? And then there's like 18 other different sub-styles in the market. You need to know as the entrepreneur what you want, what you think will sell. You need to already have a view of the market. So that's very important. My earlier point was, you need to be business-minded, but also you need to have a flair for the subject. Otherwise, don't start a food business. If you're not a foodie, you don't actually want to propagate a certain style of food item, whether it's pizza, whether it's sandwiches, whether it's burgers, whether it's biryani, whatever. If you don't have a very unique view of the market that you think is underrepresented, don't do it. Don't just hire consultants and put pieces together. That won't work.
You mentioned that again, the founding idea for Pizza Bakery was introducing sourdough pizza here. How did you select that? And how are you sure that this is going to work in the market? Because as you mentioned again, earlier you never raised any funding or took any loans. You've put in your money. How are you so confident that this is going to work?
Yeah, that's the thing we want. And a lot of these things, you just have to go take one step forward into the unknown. And that's why they say, you need balls of steel to be an entrepreneur, because at one point we had signed a lease for our Indranagar 12th main property, the flagship one that you guys may have seen, the first Pizza Bakery. We signed a lease and we didn't have a brand name. We didn't have a product. We didn't have a menu. We just know that, this is the kind of location we don't want to miss out on. Let's just sign the lease. And then we had, about 4-5 months to figure everything out, because we got a decent rent-free period from the landlord. And we just campered and put pieces together. So why sourdough? And I credit some of my global exposure to this. Both Nikhil and I, we studied in Lancaster. We worked in London after that. And in London, there was a lot of good sourdough pizza brands coming up. They weren't really as big as it is today globally. Today it's very obvious, but we really liked that style of pizza. And we liked good gourmet pizza overall. And it wasn't so much sourdough. Like even Pizza Express, which didn't exist in India back then. Today there's Pizza Express everywhere. We really liked their gourmet range. And when we came back to Bangalore, we felt like, Bangalore's still stuck in the old Domino's and Pizza Hut routine. That we felt like, there's room for a leg up. People have disposable income. People have global exposure. Everyone's traveling to Europe. Everyone's traveling to, Singapore, the Middle East, and, going to these amazing restaurants. Why doesn't Bangalore have good pizza? Okay, now what is good pizza? Then we kind of figure out the styles that we liked. And both Nikhil and I really liked the idea of sourdough pizza. And it was a clear differentiator because there was a lot of Italian restaurants back then doing the regular Roman style thin crust. We didn't want to be another one of those. Like, how can we really elevate the experience, keep it super authentic, but also have mass appeal? So we just bet on sourdough without really knowing anything. At one point, we were like, oh, so to pay rent of this outlet, this location that we've signed in Indira, we need to sell about X number of pizzas a month. And both of us looked at each other and we were like, how the hell are we going to do that? It did not seem realistic. But you just keep taking one step forward, and one day you realize that, there's a line outside the block. And we just took it one step. And you kind of have to bet on your instincts. That was pure art. There was no science into why we chose sourdough. We liked the way it tasted. We felt like people would like it too if given a chance to experience it. And that's what's happened.
You started off as, again, looking at sourdough pizza as an art. But now after sourdough pizza, pastas again, like Pizza Bakery pastas are really good. The signature garlic bread, the stuffed garlic bread, and with Paris Panini and now Smash Guys. After a certain point, have you found a way to make this art into a sense of picking products?
Absolutely, that's an interesting question, and that's something I've spoken about in my YouTube as well. One thing we figure out is that we're very good at taking products that have high demand. For example, pizza. Pizza was always consumed. We didn't have to create the market for pizzas. Everyone was always ordering pizza. Same thing with sandwiches. People like sandwiches. It was a high volume product. Even during COVID, one of the things that was ordered to the home the most after pizza, biryani and stuff was sandwiches and burgers and things like that. So we take these mass products that have mass appeal already, where the demand bucket exists, so we don't need to create demand for it, and we elevate that experience. So we productize it to an extent that it makes it gourmet, it makes it reasonable, affordable as well, despite being gourmet, not too snobbish, and have mass appeal. So it's these three things coming together can create what Kunal Shah from Cred calls a Delta 4 experience. Which means you basically take something people are already doing and you make it at least 3 or 4 times better than your competition. And when that happens, if you're actually able to achieve that, it sounds very simple to say, then you become the obvious choice. And then your demand flywheel just spirals into something you can't even imagine. So we made sure that, if we're starting a pizza brand, it needs to be at least 3-4x better than the next alternative. In those days, it was Domino's Pizza Hut, which was not really gourmet. Same thing with Paris Panini. We picked the simple sandwich and we're like, how can we give it a twist that also has mass appeal? No one's doing paninis, right?
Exactly.
And paninis are great. Every time you travel abroad, there's always, even at the airports and stuff, you have these panini press machines. People are giving you this warm panini with nice hard crust outside. You get that nice crunch, chew on the inside, quality cheese and meat and veg juice inside. There was no one doing that. Maybe we could elevate the sandwich experience in Bangalore 3 or 4x. So we did that. And similarly now with Smash Guys, we intend to do that with burgers. We feel like there's a lot of good burger brands, but no one's mastered the Smash burger. Maybe we can kind of ride that wave. So, yeah.
How much of an importance do you think data plays while, again, picking products?
Definitely plays, especially in the age of the aggregator dominance. Swiggy, Zomato, Ola Foods, or all these delivery players, Magic Pin, everyone kind of expanding the size of the delivery market. You have to pay attention to what delivers well. That's the problem with products like ramen, for example. Great dine-in experience, very difficult to scale because on delivery it's probably not going to be as enjoyable, and you're just going to be like, what is this? But products like burgers, pizza, sandwiches, biryani delivers really well. Obviously there's some compromise in quality, taste and stuff, especially with sourdough pizza. It kind of becomes a little soggy and things like that. But it's still a great, easy to eat, shareable thing. You put it out in your living room, your family's around, everyone grabs a slice, and you watch a movie, kick back and eat. So the data of what aggregators are doing is very important to pay attention to as a food entrepreneur. So we're looking at all the Western cuisines, like internally at Popo Ventures, which is the name of our holding firm. We're looking at products that do really well on dine-in, because that's what builds your brand. We believe that bricks lead to clicks, and then when they go to clicks, Swiggy, Zomato, wherever, we need to see that there's data and evidence on Swiggy, Zomato that people are ordering this at a high rate. Like the throughput needs to be high of pizzas, burgers, panini. So we check the data with our partners at Swiggy, Zomato, and we're like, burgers are selling, right? The volume is good, and if we think it's good, we get into it. I think that's the kind of method we follow. So after burgers, we'd probably do bowls, because we believe that bowls are great on delivery, and no one's really done a nice dine-in experience around bowls. We feel like we can crack something there.
So when you started Pizza Bakery in 2017, correct? Like there were again a lot of like heritage restaurants, and like when it came to like Western food, it was like Domino's, Pizza Hut, all of these guys. From the gourmet experience, there was nobody. But now again, there's a lot of competition. If you were to start Pizza Bakery today, how would you go about doing it with the product? And the second thing to follow up with that would be with the real estate. So back then in 2017, again, as you mentioned on your previous podcast, there was CBD and there was like Indiranagar side, all of that.
Yeah.
But there's also the emergence of like suburban neighborhoods like JP Nagar, Sanjay Nagar, all of these places.
Yeah.
Which would you give more importance to?
Which would I give more importance to, location versus?
So would you pick places like in places in the CBD where like the rents are extremely high,
right?
Or would you go to places like again Sanjay Nagar, JP Nagar, Yelahanka, developing areas?
Got it. Very, very tricky question to answer. Back in 2017, life was a lot simpler. You consider between CBD, Indiranagar, and maybe Kormangla was kind of also happening back then. So you just pick between those and kind of run with it. It didn't really matter after a point. There wasn't so much to choose from. It really depends what you're trying to build. Like, for example, if you're building a brand that you see as being like a one outlet or a two outlet play, then ideally, if it's a premium product and you're able to charge a good amount, where your average per bill is, say, or average per cover, let's just say, average per cover is at least $1,500. Try to stick to, I would say, Indiranagar, CBD, and because one of your flagship locations still needs to be in a place that's accessible around the city. If you're doing a 1-2 outlet kind of play, if you're planning to start the kind of business that I generally veer towards, which is highly scalable, multiple outlets around the city, at least 8, 10, 12, then it really doesn't matter. Start somewhere. There's so many good suburbs. JP Nagar is like a throbbing suburb. I've lived in Jayanagar for a long time. And JP Nagar is such a huge F&B market. You could build a solid base there and then get affordable real estate, and then once you're confident, then open one in Indiranagar.
Yeah.
And then do, say, CBD somewhere on Church Street, which is even more premium than Indiranagar these days. So you could do that whole reverse direction where you kind of minimize your bets in the early stages. Go to Sanjay Nagar, go to JP Nagar. Hennur is up and coming. Go to Kalyan Nagar, Kamanhalli. Great delivery catchment there. And then get your confidence and then spend on higher end. Right. But if you're doing a 1-2 outlet play and you need it to work for everyone in the city, you have to bet big on a solid CBD location. So.
You mentioned again scaling. This has been a big part of your philosophy again when you wanted to start a business. So if you were to start Pizza Bakery or any food-based restaurant now, would you again go with the physical outlet model, or again a hyper scalable model is again cloud kitchens? What is your opinion on that?
Yeah. Right. So to answer your previous question also about how would I start Pizza Bakery today, I'm not sure I would.
Okay.
I'm not sure I would. Unless certain boxes were still blank. Like back then, there was no sourdough pizza. Now there's so much. There's so many brands there. I mean, this is not the time to start one more sourdough pizza brand. So I wouldn't do that. Secondly, I'm not sure I'd have the balls to, as a newbie entrepreneur, to take up prime real estate in Indiranagar today. in which case I'd have to go to one of the tier 3, 4 kind of locations to get that sub 2 lakh, sub 2.5 lakh rent per month rent range. In which case, all the more hard to succeed with the existing sourdough pizza players that already exist. So I'm not sure I would. What was the second part of your question?
The second part was a cloud kitchen.
Yeah. So the whether I'd do it differently, with the real estate prices going high, would I do cloud kitchens over? So everyone has their own philosophy, their own view of the market. There's a lot of brands now that are betting big on digital. Like not even bothering, like Rebel Foods and stuff. They don't even really care about physical outlets. But this is where you need to have a view, right? You can't just do what other people are doing or say they are doing it, so it must be right, so I should also do this. Our view is actually very contrary to that. We don't believe the Rebel model, the largely the Cure Foods model also really works in the long run, because on the screen, right, you're betting for pixels. You have to advertise on Swiggy, Zomato. You have to spend a lot of ad dollars on that. You have to hire celebrities as mascots for your brand, just so that they find you. So it's a very expensive affair to get discovered on these apps and not have any other way for customers to know who you are. And also, we really believe that if Pizza Bakery was just a digital brand, we wouldn't be where we are today. There's something about walking into the outlet. People have an emotional connection in the city to Pizza Bakery. You smell that dough. You see those twin ovens. You see the way the guys are dressed. You see them stretching that puffy dough. And it comes to your table hot and sizzling. And that's why I said earlier, we really strongly advocate for bricks leading to clicks. Food is something you eat with all your senses. Right from you walk in, you see the place, then you smell, and you walk in, and then you touch the furniture. You see, we use a lot of these warm elements like jute fibers and stuff in our lights. All of that kind of adds to the experience of finally when the pizza comes to your table, you just enjoy it so much more. Same thing, if I said the first time you're going to experience it, I'll put it in a cardboard box and send it to your house. You'd be like, yeah, it's nice, it's good pizza. But that bond is not built. So today, any number of digital brands can try and come for our market share on Swiggy and Zomato and spend more ad dollars than us. But because of that loyal following that we've built, who have seen and we become a part of their routine, going to a pizza bakery and experiencing that pizza, people will still search for Pizza Bakery for no advertising. They will click on it, come and order from you. So our cost of new customer acquisition is much lower. So you come into outlet once, you become a lifetime subscriber by going home and ordering once a month or once in 2 months or however often you want.
I think what you mentioned, Tanish, is the prime example of that here.
Yeah.
Because I think
correct. Yeah. So I order from Paris Panini so often because of the kind of experience I've had when I go over there.
Yeah. See.
So I think that does make all the difference.
Yeah, and see, the thing is, I'm also a consumer first, right? Like I've been to so many restaurants. Like the first time I experienced Corner House and stuff was at the place. Like Corner House means something to me as a dessert place. It's my favorite dessert place.
But a follow-up with that, again, if you're going with something like an Indian thing as compared to a Western thing, the raw material cost, when it comes to like whether it's kebabs or anything, the raw materials are going to be a lot cheaper, even if it's quality. But for a Western thing, the supply is again a lot lower. Why is that?
The pricing. Okay. So the costing, right? Yeah, obviously, making a biryani, you buy some basic rice and local meat from a supplier, and put some Indian masalas, and there you go, you have a biryani. But the thing is, biryani being such an accessible, simple product, or even South Indian idli dosa, food cost is very, like Rameshwaram's food cost will not be less than like 35%, 40%. Actually, they charge a premium because they are Rameshwaram, so maybe it's 30%. But with biryani stuff, you can't charge too much. You can't charge 450, 500 bucks for a biryani. You can't do a snob biryani, unfortunately. But you can do snob Western food. You can do sourdough pizza and charge 800 bucks for it. People will pay. But food cost will be 22.
So essentially, because it's a premium product, you can charge.
That's right.
Anything international, you can charge. Ramen, ceviche, do any sort of fancy like burrito, tacos. You can always charge a premium for that because there's only so many players doing it and doing it well. Whereas biryani, there's like every neighborhood has a great biryani spot. Like right from the military hotels onwards, like the Shivaji and stuff serve like epic biryani at super low price. So how can a new biryani player come? I'm going to be 3x of Shivaji, but taste difference not that much. So they have to compete on price.
Right.
So I have a question. So earlier we spoke about the dine-in experience. So when we walk into Paris Panini or Pizza Bakery, so could you take us through how you actually curate an experience for the customer?
Yeah. So we look at a couple of elements. One is we like warmth, and again, this is not out of some textbook or something that we've hired some research company to do. We just, as Nikhil and I, just feel like we want the place to feel warm and cozy. That's it. So coming to Pizza Bakery, the name itself, right? Pizza Bakery makes you think brown, warm tones, a little fireplace. That's the kind of vibe that you kind of subliminally think as a customer, and we want that to translate into the actual space that you walk into. So we use a lot of jute, a lot of soft cushioning on the sofas. We always make sure that we have live kitchens in our brands. So Pizza Bakery, you see the two. We can't have a fireplace, but we have two wood-fired ovens. You hear the crackling of the wood sometimes. You see fresh dough. You smell that bread. So that's the kind of experience we want people to really experience right from the time they hear the Pizza Bakery and be like, that's an interesting name for a brand. What do you mean Pizza Bakery? Let's go check it out. To actually going in and be like, it makes sense. I imagined a place like this. Same thing with Paris Panini. When you say Paris Panini, say you had no context, you never heard of the brand. You think France, right? You think a little cafe by the streets of Paris or something like that. So we wanted that to kind of come through. So we have little doodles on the wall, which we actually hired artists to painstakingly do, with really expensive. So all those little things you see even in the Sanjay Nagar outlets that you guys visit,
Yeah, correct.
those that wall art, that's not wallpaper. So we've actually hired
Any
a bunch
reason why?
of. I don't know. So the thing is, we can do customized wallpaper, but we feel like if you actually look close enough at it, it's a wallpaper. You kind of start looking at us as some kind of massy, franchisee, brandy kind of brand. Whereas we want people to feel like they've come to a super authentic place where every detail is taken care of. Where we've gone to the extent of hiring an artist to paint the walls, and the number of selfies that customers take as a result of this shows that they probably wouldn't have done the same if it was wallpaper and you could see the seams attaching at every part where the wallpaper is stuck. And in some of our larger outlets like Church Street and stuff, there's a lot of art. You can see a whole landscape of Paris. So we want people to feel like they're sitting on the streets of Paris, even though they're on Church Street or Sanjay Nagar, and have that experience for those 1.5 hours that they spend there.
You mentioned the naming again. It's Pizza Bakery, Paris Panini. Why does Smash Guys not follow that?
Yeah. Very.
Because I kept calling it Smash Burger actually, and then Tanish corrected me.
Right,
it's
I know
Smash
we have
Guys.
Yeah. With the Pizza Bakery, we wanted pizza to be in the name, because when we started it, the leading pizza players at that point were Italian restaurants. Toscano, like premium gourmet pizza I'm talking about. Forget Domino's, Pizza Hut and stuff. It was Toscano, it was Little Italy, it was places like that focusing on that Italian experience. There's so many other generic Italian, some place called Romano, this, that, random places. But they were focusing on good Italian food and they had a decent pizza menu. We wanted to arrive saying that, if we just called ourselves Napoli or something like that, people would think we're another Italian restaurant serving pizza. But we wanted to do the reverse of that, where we want to be like, hey, we're masters of pizza. We are the Pizza Bakery. So people need to wonder, like, interesting. A dine-in, 100-seater outlet called the Pizza Bakery. What could they possibly serve? So you walk in and pizza is the core focus right from the time you walk in. You see twin ovens. You sit. We have those tent cards that explain how our dough is made. Around that, we build a slightly Italian and global experience where we also have pasta, salads, main courses, and stuff like that. Similarly with Paris Panini, right? We didn't want it to be just another. There was Cafe Noir. There were all these other French cafes. Like there was one place down the road here on Level Road called Jacques. A lot of French-inspired cafes. We didn't want to become another bistro cafe style thing. We wanted to focus on the product that we're trying to propagate here, which is the panini. And it was very little known. Like till date, actually, people come into Paris Panini asking, what is panini? Right? Because it's the first time they're experiencing something like that. And it's reached so many people in so many tier 2, tier 3 markets in Bangalore. So we want people to wonder what is panini and then come in. Not just like, oh, this is a French cafe, let's go have coffee there. You're missing the point. No, this is a panini place. Please come here and eat panini. And there's a coffee experience around it. With burgers, on the other hand, we looked at the market. Every brand has burger in it. Every brand has burger in the name. I don't think there's a single burger brand worth its salt, like a good place, that doesn't have burger or burg or something with the words starting with BUR. So we were like, do we want to be just another burger this, burger that brand? Then we kind of get lost in that. Like, there's Burger Senior, there's Beyond Burg, there's Burger Man, there's Burger Rama, there's Burger this, Burger. So we're like, if we just do Burger Boys or something like that, we were like, we just get lost, even on Swiggy and even on search. Like, you just lost. Like, is this even different? Like, is this the brand I heard? So let's again change it. So that's the thing, right? You've got to keep changing your view of the market based on the data that you have. So no one really focuses on smash burgers to a point where they put in their name. There's not a single one. So maybe we should do that. We can't call it smash burger because that's a product.
Yeah.
We need to have and we're a bunch of guys like doing smash burgers, and so like Smash Guys. So so people kind of wonder what is Smash Guys. But in the tagline, it's also important to communicate on social media and even on Swiggy, Zomato. When you have to show up, if people just see Smash Guys, they don't even know what you're making, right? Like, because nobody knows Smash Burgers yet. So our tagline has burger in it. So it's Smash Guys Burger Kitchen. So even when we go live on Swiggy, you'll see it as Smash Guys - Burger Kitchen. So we still have burger in the name, but in the subtext, not in the main brand.
It's a sort of subtle input.
Yeah.
Subtle input, exactly. Yeah.
Is there any reason you're documenting? I mean, you building Smash Guys?
Yeah, I think that's it started off as a very personal need to do something creative, because after 6-7 years of doing the same grind behind closed doors, I kind of had this flair for performing, being out there in front of camera or on stage. I grew up as a performer. I sang professionally. I still sing professionally. I do lots of gigs around Bangalore, Goa, some in Thailand and stuff. And I kind of wanted to see how I could marry my flair and interest for performance into my business life as well. So it's like interesting. What if I build this brand in public and kind of show people along the way how I'm doing it? Because now I'm kind of confident that I know what I'm doing after having built 2 brands. So I won't be as anxious about it. And even if it doesn't work, so what? That'll also be a cool story to tell, and people can see it unfold as it goes. So let's take a crack at it. And the second thing was I kind of saw the trend of how great brands were being built the world over. Like, if you look at any of these unicorns or soonicorns, they're all sort of person-led. Like, look at the story of Gymshark, right? He was a YouTuber. He put himself out there. And he was actually the brand. Gymshark only became Gymshark because of the way he did it, and he built in public. You take more drastic examples, what Kylie Jenner has done with Kylie Cosmetics, or what
Kanye
has done with Yeezys, and Dwayne Johnson's done with Terramana, or Conor McGregor's done with Proper 12. People these days, because of social media and the way the world's going, are associating to the human element of brands. They don't want to see just a logo and fancy graphics. They want to see who's behind this. What do we know about them? And then they kind of start building this bond with them even before the brand is launched. So now today, having done all of this, I know that the day we open Smash Guys, there's going to be a line. There's going to be a waiting for at least 30-40 minutes. I'm sure of it. I could never say this before for any of my previous brands, because the day we open, we'll be like, shit, now we need to tell people that we're open. Like, where they're going to come from otherwise. But now it's like, all I need to do is put up one story. It can only be text. It doesn't even have to be my face saying we are now open in the Ranagar 12 main opposite Araku, and there'll be a line outside.
You're your biggest brand ambassador.
Basically, and this negates the need to spend on traditional PR, get expensive magazine, newspaper paper articles done. I don't know if we even know if we'll do that. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. But right now we know that we'll have the demand to fulfill our expenses for the first 6 months at least. After that, the product will have to speak for itself, because you can't just do marketing and have no substance.
So, I mean, at Popo Ventures, you have like a really good team. You have your brother, you have Nicholas. I think is he part of Popo Ventures too?
Yeah, he's a part of Popo Ventures. His primary focus is on Paris Panini, but he also helps with overall marketing and stuff.
So again, all of you, I mean, to build anything great, you need like an absolutely great team. What skills do you bring to Popo Ventures?
Yeah, see, absolutely. I think this is something that's worth touching upon, because any new entrepreneur probably wants to feel like I can do it all on my own kind of thing. And I'm sure you could, but you don't need to. Hire people with complementary strengths or better still, in the early days, if you don't have a co-founder, find a co-founder with a complementary skill set. So my skill is in creativity, marketing, productizing, trying to figure out what people will like, the customer experience, outlet operations, the subtle things, the more artistic sort of things. Obviously, 80% of my time goes in non-sexy things like mundane day-to-day operations, looking at sales reports and checking, overseeing a bunch of checklists that the guys have done for whether it's hygiene or quality control or tasting or food costing, etc. All that 80% will be common. There will 20% that makes me unique as a founder is that creative angle that I bring. Nikhil, on the other hand, is extremely process oriented, highly detail oriented, maniacal level of detail, which is extremely important when it's such a complex back end. The central kitchen that we have, sprawling across 20,000 plus square feet in Bengaluru, could not have happened without Nikhil's constant and incessant focus. Like, he was just on it. He was in that central kitchen for about 2 years after COVID, just building it, figuring out every machine, every cold room, every fridge, every process that needs to happen. Obviously, our roles overlap, and a lot of us do the same things at different times. But primarily, his focus is on processes, back end, dealing with aggregators and finance, stuff like that. And my focus is on marketing, outlet operations, customer experience, quality control, product testing, things like that.
So his is more of the internal, and yours is more catering towards the external.
Exactly. But 80% of our time we'll be doing the same stuff. The 20% is what we're talking about. Yeah.
So how do you find balance then? Again, because you started this with your brother. When you find a co-founder, as you mentioned, if it's more of a business kind of relationship, there is again very less wishful thinking, and you have a very clear at the end of the day what that person can do and what that person can't do. But when there's relation involved, how are you able to manage? Because I'm sure there would have been a lot of conflicts, there would have been a lot of drama, past struggles, all of that. Yeah. How have you managed to do this with your brother, till this day?
Yeah. See, the thing is, obviously, family ties bring in their own complications, and but the thing is, it's so much better than the complications you could potentially have otherwise. Like, I'm not ever going to be worried about my brother scamming me. Right? But you hear so many stories about partners where one partner siphoned off this much, or scammed him and did something behind his back and stuff. Because do you really trust your partner as much as you do your brother? Probably not. So we don't need to worry about we can just worry about the work stuff. So yeah, obviously, different personalities, and being brothers, there's a certain comfort level, which is a good thing because we can be very open and honest with each other. But it's also a bad thing because that openness and honesty can lead to screw you,
exactly,
or be like, what the hell are you talking? Like, it leads to almost very informal engagement that's not always professional, because you're brothers, you've grown up together.
Is he older?
He's 2 years older. He's 2 years older than me. So you kind of have to deal with each other in a professional way, which is kind of weird because he's your brother and you just want to tell him to shut up. but you can't. There's a certain decorum, and in the long run, to maintain a professional relationship and to sustain for as long as we have, we give each other space. We know each other's limits. We don't push each other's buttons. We both have idiosyncrasies that we don't like about each other, but that will happen even with a partner. But with a brother, you can always be open and honest and have a very, very transparent discussion, and having that trust level is most important. That no matter what happens, no matter how angry or upset you are with each other, that doesn't mean that one of the partners is going to pull a number on you. That everyone's always going to be family at the end of the day.
I have one question. So it just occurred to me now. So when you started Pizza Bakery, that was you and your brother. Paris Panini was sort of like an acquisition, where he had a food truck and you scaled it entirely. Is there any reason you're building Smash Guys yourself and didn't just try to acquire a partner up with a small scale burger joint?
Yeah, the opportunity didn't exist with the burger brand. There were no one's quite doing burgers the way we want it to be done. I think that's a short answer to that. We're not seeing anything with the existing brands, regardless of how small or large they are. There are a couple of brands that I can't name that we have approached.
Okay.
We've approached them to discuss if there's some way that we can kind of work together, because we saw them not really getting anywhere. That's why I don't want to name them.
No, fair enough.
Like, you guys have been at it for 4 years, you're not really getting anywhere. Like, we kind of know what we're doing. Why don't we do something together? For a lot of reasons, the discussions kind of fizzled out. We had these discussions with 2 brands. Simply because I think they knew that, the moment we get involved, we'd want a very specific kind of product. And maybe that's the problem with chef-led brands sometimes. Yeah. They want to stick to what is not working for no logical reason. So let them stick to it. That's fine. So we'll just build our own. But with Le Casse-Croûte, which is what the food truck used to be called, it wasn't called Paris Panini. Okay. It was called Le Casse-Croûte. Sorry, Nicholas, I may be butchering the pronunciation. That was Nicholas's French food truck. He was the opposite of what I just described. Yeah. Very receptive. He knew that we have local experience. He kind of looked up to the fact that we had built Pizza Bakery to a reasonable size back then, and that he was struggling for 5 years, running this food truck, and then food trucks were banned, and he was having trouble dealing with us. He's a French white guy. Dealing with BBMP is not easy. As a local Bangalorean itself, we struggle. He was getting his head done in just dealing with those guys, and all sorts of bribes he was paying that he didn't need to pay for. And even location, right? It didn't come intuitively to Nicholas because he was an outsider. He kind of knew, but we were like, his first location was probably not the ideal place, and we had a solid place for him on 12th Main. So we brought some tangible value to him, and he was smart enough. And he's also not like a professional chef. He's a self-taught, passionate chef who just used to sell his family recipes from his hometown in Arras. He used to just sell those sandwiches because he was passionate. He was actually a business guy first too. So he was able to see the opportunity and partner with us and just let his own attachment to his brand go. And it was a great collaboration. So we kind of absorbed him into Popo Ventures. And we were like, first thing is that Le Casse-Croûte, I can't say it, we need to change that. And then as we were just spitballing, I spat out the name Paris Panini, and it just kind of stuck. Little did we know we'll have 16 locations.
Is there any reason the logo of Paris Panini is very similar to the PSG logo?
That's not the logo. That's just the T-shirt.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd get sued if that was actually.
Yeah, the logo. That's the thing. I mean, I've seen him wear that T-shirt on previous podcasts. That's what I wanted to ask you. I'm like, is it like allowed? Haven't you?
No, I mean, if we ever get on PSG's radar, but that's a great milestone. So that's just a fun T-shirt. In fact, that is exactly the PSG logo, and in the PSG logo at the bottom of the Eiffel Tower, you see like some kind of wreath and trophy and stuff. We've removed that, and if you look closely at what Nicholas wears, it's a panini bread. So we've adapted that, and we just messed around with that. That's just a fun T-shirt. The actual logo is the beret and mustache that you see on the signage.
And I mean, like when you started Pizza Bakery, did you ever anticipate that you would position Popo Ventures in a way that is basically it's the way I see it, it's like an accelerator for restaurants. Like if you're just starting off with something new, you have the infrastructure, you have the experience and the know-how to just take something small and scale it rapidly. Did you know that you were going to build something like this?
No, not at all. And the smallest things, we never built. First of all, we never started Pizza Bakery for it to be a scalable, pizza empire. We never thought of it that way. We were like, so I was sitting in my family travel agency, sending people on honeymoons and cruises and stuff. That was my job. I was taking care of Travel Bazaar. We had an office in Jayanagar. That's what I used to do. My brother was working with his father-in-law, selling cars, automobile dealerships. He was working with Kaveri Ford, one of the Ford dealerships in the city. So that was our real job. This was like, okay, so we'll go to office in the morning, and spend half a day trying to build this thing. Maybe it'll grow to 1 location, 2 locations, and it'll be good side income, disposable income. We never thought we'd quit all of that and put all our eggs into this. So we never built it with the idea of scale. We're like, and this is like, I don't know if you guys have heard of Paul Graham, the Y Combinator guy, right? And he always says, and this is him saying it, right? But Y Combinator's birthed some of the most hyper scalable companies in the world. And he always spoke about companies like Airbnb and stuff who never started with the idea of scale. they actually thought extremely niche, which is very contrarian. People always think things scale, scale, scale. No. So we don't think about, do things that don't scale is what his exact words are. Do things that don't scale. And that's, I guess, somehow we weren't thinking about him when we did this, but we did that. It was me taking customer orders. It was my brother checking the POS system. My mom was doing billing. My dad was walking on the restaurant, making sure all the lights are working. My sister-in-law was also talking to customers. This is not scalable. This was the first 6 months of Pizza Bakery. It was just like the family running around the restaurant, clearing tables. I was wiping down tables. I was yelling at the housekeeping guy, telling him to wash plates. At that point, we were like, oh my God, are we ever going to be able to not do this stuff? We didn't have a plan, but it was certainly not scalable. And then slowly we built processes in place. Slowly we kind of took a step back. Slowly we got confidence in that there's solid demand for the product and we can hire a more expensive manager. And then after the first outlet started paying back the investment very, very rapidly, we were like, let's do a second one. We weren't thinking of number 20. We were thinking about number 2. Let's do a third one. We'll see, maybe Bangalore has potential for 3 or 4. After 3 or 4 also started, we're like, okay, let's do 5. Let's see where it stops. It's not stopping. So today we're at 16. We have 15 in Bangalore, 1 in Sri Lanka.
Colombo, right?
So today I can say that, if we start going national after Bangalore, there could be 100, 150 pizza bakeries potentially. Today I see it.
Yeah.
But for the first 3 years of our, as on today, about 7.5 year existence, I couldn't see that. So,
Are you obsessed with your business? Would you consider yourself as someone who's like absolutely obsessed and just can't stop thinking? Even when you're not working, you just keep getting these ideas and you text your brother like, hey, listen, let's do this. You text your team.
Desh, the question is, am I obsessed about my business? Am I obsessed about my business? You ask her the question. I don't know.
Yeah, like annoying people. You have to manage so many outlets. I guess you have to
So I guess I am. I don't know. I feel like I should be.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like I am.
That's the hallmark of someone who's truly obsessed with it.
Yeah. I'm clearly not self-aware on this front. That's why she's like my mirror when it comes to this.
like, you
Yeah.
have obsessed with creating.
Yeah, actually, that's well put. I think I'm obsessed with creating. I like building. I like conceptualizing from mind to matter, like bringing something to life. That's certainly a rush for me. And similarly with Smash Guys, and doing that in a fun way has been even more, given me even more validation on building something like that. So I'll probably do a lot more stuff like that. But yeah, I guess you always feel like you should be doing more, should be thinking about it more. You're not as obsessed. Why am I not all Elon Musk on my business? Like, I can't work 18 hour days. I can't do it. That's not me.
What is your average workday like then?
When you came in today, I'd just woken up.
Okay.
So, relaxed mornings. I think the restaurant industry also, that's just how it is. Like, mornings tend to be relaxed. But I'll give you my average day. So Tuesday is actually my day off. That's why you guys are chilling here today and with me. Tuesdays are like my Sundays. It's a kind of like complete day off. But otherwise, generally 7:30, 8 a.m. go to the gym close by. Just work out for about an hour, either gym or yoga. Come back, have breakfast. Maybe take a 20-minute nap after breakfast. And head to work by like 11. 11 I leave the house. Get to office by say 11:30. And then stay in office till God knows. Sometimes if there's not too much to do, 6:30 in the evening. Sometimes 8:30 at night. Stay in the office, come back. But there's then I'm always working in the car. I come back home, we're having dinner, I'm working on my phone. And even in the morning, like at breakfast, I'll probably be texting someone, following up on something. So there's the boundaries of like work and leisure time are very, very blurred. And that's one of the disadvantages of entrepreneurship, because you can't really switch off. Since we've been sitting here, my phone has buzzed 2 or 3 times and I'm wondering what it is.
But do you enjoy it?
I enjoy it because at least at least I get to dictate where I am. Like, I'm one person who doesn't like to be like geographically trapped. I don't like reporting to some place, staying there for a certain amount of time, then clocking out and then being in another place. Like, if I feel like stepping out on a Friday at like 4 p.m. going for a cup of coffee and working from a coffee shop, I can do it. Or if I just want to, do a meeting outside the walls of my office with somebody, I go and meet them at one of our restaurants. So I like that flexibility of moving around.
How often do you visit all your restaurants?
We have a management visit day, which is Saturdays are for that. So Saturdays are my most painful days because it's the worst for traffic, and we do management visits. So the entire management team, Chef Guru, Chef Duman, some of the other seniors, Beena, our general manager, Nikhil, me, Nicholas as well, Karthik, our head of operations, and a couple of others. We kind of, it's almost like we raid an outlet. No outlet knows that we're coming. We go unannounced. So every Saturday we pick 2 locations to raid, and we just show up at some time. It's not always at the same time. Sometimes it's like 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Sometimes it's like 1:30. Sometimes it's like 2:30. We just show up there and we just like walk around. Are the lights on? Are the fans at the right speed? Are the tables set up properly? Is nothing crooked? There's the basic things at the front of house. How is the approach? Is it clean? Is the manager even on the floor? Or he just punched his attendance and gone, started bunking. We don't even know, right? Like these things. We walk to the back of the kitchen. Have they done their opening checklist properly? Are they following FIFO of all the items? Because otherwise spoilage can increase. Are the fridges at the right temperature? You glance and you look at how the guy is making that panini or wrap. Is he using the measure, or is he just using his hands? They have measures for everything. So just to offer you a consistent experience. So all of that, we kind of go and look into all these data points. We also take a whole bunch of stats, customer complaints printed out of all the complaints that we've had since the last outlet visit to that location. And then we call the manager, sit down with him and be like, these are the complaints. These are the amount of food poisoning complaints, if there are any. These are the amount of complaints where you guys have forgotten or wrong. There was a wrong or missing order in your Swiggy thing. You've forgotten to give the extra dip, or maybe a customer wasn't happy. He said the pizza arrived cold to his table when he was in the restaurant. Like, how did that happen? Maybe it was sitting at the pass for too long, where the runner has not picked it up on time, so it's cooled down too much, and by the time the guy gets it, it's like lukewarm. So we go through everything in detail with that outlet's manager, give them feedback of their delivery metrics, how they're doing on wrong and missing orders, the percentages. There's something called food ready accuracy, marking food ready on time the moment the food comes out of the oven,
kitchen.
out of the kitchen. If your food ready time is very slow, there are certain company averages we follow. At Paris Panini, your food ready needs to be well within about 8-9 minutes. In Pizza Bakery, it needs to be well within about 11-12 minutes. If an outlet is averaging 14 or 15 minutes on Pizza Bakery, we ask why. Maybe he'll give us some insights. Maybe the packing guy is very slow and not efficient enough, and he's taking on. Or maybe the kitchen is like not properly monitored. They're taking ages to pick the KOT and just put it on the rail before they start preparing it. They lose 2-3 minutes right there. So we get into all these metrics, right, from cleanliness and hygiene to FIFO to the back end. Hear from the team also if they have any other problems. Are they short-staffed? It gives us a good understanding of what's happening on the ground. So Nikhil and I make sure we are also always there. Can't just delegate this stuff. And yeah, so this is every Saturday we do this, 2 locations.
Speaking of that, again, you mentioned that you can't do everything. You need, people need to do it. All your outlets are company owned and operated, right?
Yeah.
That will require a solid, decentralized leadership.
Yeah.
How have you gone about building that? The reason I ask you that is, I think it was 1 or 2 months back, the Kanan Gill show. So my friend, we'd gone for the Kanan Gill show, came back, I think at 11 to a pizza bakery, on the one on Bell Road, and then we were around the closing time. So that's when they were having a proper meeting. And the manager there was very specific, okay, this is what's gone wrong. I need this change, I need that change. And I found that really interesting because I'm a process guy. And I found that very fascinating because I don't think I've seen a lot of other restaurants follow that thing.
Yeah. So at scale, you have to sort of start building some sort of hierarchy. We have. So there's 2 big teams that we have. One is kitchen, because we're a very kitchen forward company, because food is at the heart of everything that we do. So I think that's 70-75% of our focus. And the other big broad bucket is operations. Operations is everything. It includes kitchen operations also, it includes service operations also, it includes that little briefing that we saw at 11 p.m. That's also part of the thing. You have to do a closing, end of day briefing with the team. So that's also part of the SOP. So there's kitchen and operations. In the kitchen now, obviously we have when you start at like 1, 2, 3 outlet level, you just have your head chef, you have the co-founders, and then you have your general manager, and you have your head of operations, and then you're good. You can manage 5 outlets like this with nobody else. And then each outlet has its own supervisor managers, and you're good. 4, 5 outlets, you don't need any more than that. As you start building to 30, 31 locations and beyond, you need these 2 buckets to have like sub leaders. So in the kitchen side, we have what we call zonal heads, zone chefs. So zone chefs, each zone chef manages like a cluster of outlets. So 3 or 4 outlets, depending on what his split is and what his capability is. Can he manage 3 outlets? Can he manage 2 outlets? Should we give him a smaller, maybe a small cloud kitchen because he's still new? So we have about 3 or 4 of those, or is it 5? 4 or 5 of those zone chefs. And then on the operations side, we have our operations head. We have senior operations heads, and we also have a junior operations head. So these guys each take care of a bunch of outlets, and everything kind of leads up to the top, to the head of operations and the general manager, and then the co-founders. It's we make sure that all these people come to the office once a week, where we have a collective meeting, and we kind of go into 1 or 2 of their outlets in depth and make sure that they know what they're talking about, just so we know we have the right guys leading them.
And is that the reason, again, you've paired all, whether it's Paris Panini, Pizza Bakery, and Smash Guys, you've paired them together because, like, do you follow, I mean, is it like the same, like, supervising team for all three places?
Yeah, same. So, even if you look at the uniforms of all these zonal heads, right, whether it's a senior kitchen team or whether it's the operations team, you will see Popo Ventures. So they are not. Earlier, we used to have brands where they felt like, if it's an identity thing also. You can't, a guy with a Pizza Bakery uniform, how much of you tell him, you're also responsible for Paris Panini, he doesn't get it. So he's always standing at pizza. So we got rid of that. We changed the uniform. You are Popo Ventures. Tomorrow we might do a Idli Vada brand. Like that'll also be your anything. You work for Popo Ventures, and every brand that comes within this umbrella will be your problem. So yes, obviously having them geographically close, Pizza Bakery, Paris Panini as neighbors really helps because operationally, even at the outlet level, that outlet manager, forget the zonal guy, the outlet manager himself can double up as a manager for both. So we also split costs that way, right? You don't need to hire 2 senior guys.
The real estate too, that would be
the real estate too. In terms of like the back kitchen, no, it's for the customer area. We'll anyway need more space because Paris Panini has its own independent identity. It's not like you can sit in Pizza Bakery and order Paris Panini, right? So it's a separate thing. You cannot do that. But at the back, our cold storage, our kitchen, our dry store, we keep all our packaging, our staff cafeteria is all common. So that helps. So there's 1 staff cook making food for everybody instead of having 2. So similarly, wherever we can plug a Smash Guys in close to this for operational reasons, it'll really help. Not everywhere will we be able to do that because of restrictions of space, but wherever we can, we want to try and do that.
I think the last question to conclude the podcast with, the last, I think, 2 years, ever since OpenAI has come into ever since OpenAI released GPT, there's been like tech being leveraged into everything. And you mentioned in the beginning that your first business was a tech business.
Yeah.
What kind of technology are you currently like introducing in Popo Ventures, and what kind of tech are you hoping to introduce to make this process like a lot more streamlined?
Yeah. So we've been using a lot of technology. A lot of our internal reports and stuff that we track and stuff like Google Drive is like the nucleus of our company. If Google Drive goes, like if the server goes into flames, like we don't have a company. Like it's like everything is there. Every report, every thing that we go through routinely on those weekly meetings, everything that we track is on Google Drive. Whether it's our sales, whether it's our various SOPs that are documented that have to be passed on to every new hire. It's all on Google Drive, either in sheet form or in doc form. That's number 1. Number 2, we use softwares for the team's efficiency. So, for example, all these zone guys, outlet heads, supervisors, etc., do checklists on a software called PeakScale.
Okay.
So PeakScale is a daily opening. It's a digital. It's an app. So if I'm opening, say, Pizza Bakery Church Street today, I have to do an opening checklist that's digitized. Earlier, it used to be like tick, 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 tick. He can just tick it and do nothing also, right? But today, he has to send live photos. So he can't just upload photo from his camera roll of some old photos he's taken. Peak scale ensures that he makes sure that the blinds are cleaned before opening. He has to take a photo of clean blinds that day, a live photo. So we have a lot of checklists on peak scale. All our checklists are digitized. We have a task management software for delegation because I will tell so many people, right? Like sometimes I might deal with a supervisor directly and be like, this the plumbing in the toilet is not correct. There's some kind of off smell and there's a bit of leakage from the tap. Please put this on your list. So he will raise a maintenance link. We have like a link where you can raise a maintenance query. That query will automatically go sit in an app called Todoist, and our maintenance head will see this task come up on Todoist saying the toilet in Pizza Bakery Sanjay Nagar has some leakage with a photo. So then he kind of puts follow-up tasks on that, and then we track all of this, like the aging of different tasks. If some task has been there for 45 days and someone's not acted on it, we get alerted. So Todoist, Peak Scale, Google Drive. For our HR, we use a software called Great HR. We do a lot of the payroll and stuff through that. For our inventory management, this is like the biggest thing, right? Inventory management at our central store, central kitchen, we use Eagle Owl.
Okay.
That's another SaaS software that we use that helps us manage all our inventory.
Do you think this is the reason you've been able to maintain quality consistency, not just in the food, but like in the entire customer experience throughout all these locations?
Yeah, absolutely. I think because Nikhil and I are relatively comfortable with technology, we're able to kind of simplify it and transfer it to people lower down the chain because not everyone in the restaurant industry is super tech savvy. So we have to dumb it down for them, make it very simple. So when it comes to things like AI and stuff, apart from our marketing team, we're not really using AI. We use AI for things like captions on Instagram or replying to customers in a nice way, things like that. But in terms of the actual hardcore operations of the business, AI hasn't really made an appearance just yet. But maybe in the next few years it will. Who knows? Maybe Todoist will have, like our task management software will have like an AI that's just telling us, this task should have been done much faster, going by the history of your other maintenance tasks. That would be great to get those kind of intelligent notifications from Todoist.
And I think, before we close the podcast, just one last question. Is there a reason people call you AB and not Abhijit?
You should actually ask my parents that, because the legend goes that my dad before they had a name for me, my dad started calling me AB.
Okay.
And then eventually, shortly after, they named me Abhijit. But everyone in my family calls me AB. So nobody, I can't imagine my mom saying Abhijit unless she's introducing me to someone in a formal way. Otherwise, she says, "This is AB, my son." And yeah, I think even growing up, even in school, a lot of people called me Abhi, but no one ever called me Abhijit. So I think that's just how it's become, and I kind of identify with AB more than I do with Abhijit, to be very honest.
Well, it's been great having a conversation with you, AB. Thank you so much for accepting the invite and coming on the Backbenchers podcast. I think this truly has been a masterclass on not just creating a restaurant, but also scaling it and being able to maintain that.
Awesome. I hope this helped all your 16 to 27-year-olds. That's your demographic, right? So I hope I was able to communicate my thoughts in a way that's helpful to you. So thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much.